Okay, so for our new attendee today, we always record our meetings and put them on YouTube. So if anyone wants to see what we talked about, they're welcome to check it. So Christian just brought up that we could reduce the frequency of the meetings, see if that brings up attendance. I am not sure about that. I think it's useful to have more slots available so that in the new year we can try and get more guest speakers to fill them. But I do understand that having multiple meetings of us having general catch-ups is not that useful. So maybe what we should do is if we don't have anything scheduled, anything specific, then we could skip it. But I'm actually just fine running it even if there's only one or two other people in the call. I know that's not.
Yeah, that's an option. I guess the other thing that we can just do is we can still hop on the call, and then if we decide there's not much to discuss, we just keep it short, which is seems fine, especially for the kind of catch-up meetings where we don't have an agenda item. We can really play it by ear. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. But interestingly, actually, I was surprised at this. Hi Phil, have you got your sound all working?
I think so.
Yes.
I switched computers. Yeah.
That did it.
All right. Sorry guys. I'm here now.
No problem. I was actually just looking at the view numbers on YouTube. I'm surprised at how many views our YouTube channel the meeting recordings are getting. So, I mean, I record these assuming that very few people will watch them, but I think the lowest view count we've got is 8. It goes up from there. So the last meeting, 21 views on it, which I'm surprised at. So I think it proves the value of recording. I hope it's interesting to the people who are watching.
Do you the view numbers can be misleading because you also need to look at how many minutes they actually watched.
True.
What happened was it was a suggestion and then they clicked it away right away.
That's fair.
Yeah, but I think if you look at they call it engagement or something like that, you can see kind of how many, like the drop off over time of the viewing, so you can get a sense of how many people actually watched or skipped through it.
Yeah, I might take a look at that. I just thought it was interesting to bring up.
Yep.
So I have a link for this meeting that Julian recommended. This is the workshop that was for Zenoh in ROSCon 2024. So he suggested this would be a good starting point for us to try out Zenoh for ourselves. And then I think there was one small piece of housekeeping, which is very quick, which is just to say I've started a draft PR of putting more resources onto our resource page, which got exactly as far as making a blank page and then stopping because I didn't have any resources to put on it. But it's coming. Progress. That's it. Okay, so I think that seeing as this is the first time we've done this, we can be flexible with it. Let's just open that link up, take a read through.
Do you want to share your screen and we can try to follow what you do, or what do you think is the right format for us? I guess also from a recording point of view, while we might be following these steps in the tutorial, our audience will not be seeing what we do.
That's fair. So I think I will I'll share the tab. We can read through it together and then maybe try and implement it at the same time, and we can discuss how we're finding it as we go.
Okay. The alternative would be to share a window. Like I can do it too. I can share a terminal window where I just follow the steps.
Yeah. Let's have a go at that. I think Something
Alright.
that I would like to be able to do, although if all the instructions work perfectly, then it's not really going to happen. But I'd like to be able to give some feedback and say, this worked well, think these docs could do improving in these ways or whatever. So great,
Cool.
let's go with that.
Well, here's my exciting window. I guess, is there a way they don't support having multiple people share, right? Yeah, anyways, that's fine. I'll just copy and paste. I mean, the instructions are pretty simple. The first one is, I'm just going through the Docker setup. I already ran this a second ago, so it's very uneventful.
You're farther ahead
like a
than
cooking show.
Yeah. I did update my Turtlebot to Jazzy, so if all goes well, maybe I'll get that working. But yeah.
Oh well, that's exciting. So you're going to follow along and see whether you can run that on the Turtlebot?
Yes, that's the hope here.
That's a great idea.
Awesome. I mean, if at any point you feel like your terminal looks more exciting than my terminal, please just.
Well, that was part of the problem. That terminal didn't like the sound.
Okay. All right. So, well, that was the container, and then there's using the Docker container. Well, it doesn't say how to actually run it, but I'm probably reading quick here. Well, I guess I'm just going to try the obvious. Okay, that seems to have done something. And then they say there is some content in /docker. No.
So I think what it's saying is it's assuming you've cloned the repository.
Oh, okay. So that's a little confusing. Yeah, because the first one is Docker image installation, and then alternatively, but what it says, so your read is that what it says under using the Docker container really belongs to the alternative?
I think that, well, essentially, yes. But so you need the clone to be able to run those shell scripts.
Maybe I don't need them then. Then I'll just skip to the tutorials. I really wish I had a better setup where I could show the steps that I'm following for the recording. Let me see. Probably what I can do is I can just share my screen.
Christian, looking into those container scripts, I think you just worked around all you needed to. You just launch the container with bash. Should be okay.
All right, sounds good. Okay, I can't see you guys anymore, but you can see my screen with the terminal on the left and then the instructions on the right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna, so I, for the record, I did this, and then I figured I have to just run it, and that looks good. It puts me, it has an entry point which gives me a shell, and now I'm just gonna skip to exercise number 1, Zenoh router and ROS nodes, simple talker listener. Now, if I was working by myself, I would actually read all of that. But because we are also trying to record this, I'm going to see whether I can quickly scan it. So I'll just sort of do all of the things that look like commands. Let's try this. Unable connect to a Zenoh router. Okay, well, looks like we're doing something right and something wrong.
So what did you just do?
I ran this highlighted command. I just did the ROS2 run directly.
Oh, yeah. Is that from within the container?
From within the container, yes. Because the next one is starting it, yeah.
Okay. Feedback number 1. Don't order the instructions in a way where the first step gives me an error, because I tend to think that I did something wrong. So all right. So really, what I should have been doing is, then I want tmux here because I don't want to open several terminals.
Yeah, Because you need several terminals in the container.
That's right. And of course, I could create several windows, but this is so much easier. Okay, so I'm actually going to skip. I'm going to do step 2 first. Oh,
While you do that, I'm going to mess around with multiple containers, one for each command, just for the fun of being a little different.
sounds great. Okay, so the Zenoh router is running, it seems. And then I'm going to do step 1. After step 2, I'm going to start the talker. Here's the talker, and now it connected successfully, and it's publishing. That's nice. I feel like we're already doing something. And then run the listener. Yeah, that's the typical thing. Cool. And there I get the hello world. And I can 21, 22, there's 22. Okay, press Control C to stop the router. The talker and listener will continue exchanging messages without the router. Okay, so that just validates that it's like in ROS1 where the core could go away, the connections are still alive. Let's check this. Router is gone, and the talker is still there, and the listener is still receiving. Okay, nice. Bonus, service, action, and introspection. You can also test with a ROS service. With an action. Not sure that I need this, but I do like to look at the nodes lists and the topic lists. That's always a nice thing to do, which probably won't work now that the router is gone, but let's see. That's exactly right. Oh, and I can't cancel this. Oh, this is horrible. But that's a ROS2 issue. it seems. Control C doesn't work. Oh gosh. Okay, Control Z works. Okay, so I'm going to start the router again, create a new one, and then here we can get a notebook, I'm assuming. Yeah. And then we can get a topic list. And then with, isn't there such a thing as -V? Yeah, where you can see all of it. Okay. Looks nice to me. Well, that felt easy, but somehow I feel like, well, this was too easy. I mean, this feels like now ROS2 is working again the way that we had it in ROS1, which is something that we all know and kind of understand, which is nice. I guess there's the question of what did the Docker container set up in terms of magic for us to make it all work.
Yeah, that's just what I'm looking at now.
Yeah, which pretty much comes down to the envars, I'm assuming. So it says an RMW implementation, Zenoh, automatic discovery range, subnet. Yeah, it's nothing crazy. I mean, nothing too shocking, I guess.
No, it just does a clone, standard install, standard Qualcomm build, exports the RMW implementation to Zenoh as an environment variable in bash RC.
Are you looking at the Docker file?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jazzy rolling. How does it actually install Zenoh?
So it's line 45.
Oh, it clones it. Okay, so it installs it from source.
Yeah.
All right. I guess one fun thing that we could do if we wanted to dive deeper would be to actually build the container, which I guess is that alternative step there. We would see how long it actually takes to build it. But given that it's C or C++, it's probably very, no, I don't expect anything crazy there. Okay, nice. Okay, where should we go from here? Shall we do exercise 2?
Christian, to add some notes here, I did get it running with 3 separate containers, and needed to add a network equals host to do that. At some point, going to try, on my robot here, but we'll see how that goes in a second.
Yeah, so that's a good question, right? Because normally the idea when you run Docker containers is, of course, that you don't run them with network host. And then, at least in ROS1, that was always a little tricky to get set up because there were all these environment variables that people rightfully misunderstood, because there's the ROS, I think, master, and then ROS IP and ROS hostname. And the thing that was difficult for people to understand was that they had to be defined in a reflective way, meaning that you needed to set these so that you announce yourself to the router under a name that all of the other nodes would be able to resolve. I wonder, not necessary to dive into the details of that, but I guess what I'm saying is it would be interesting to know what it would take to do your setup with the 3 containers without the network host.
Yeah, Docker networking can be tricky. Network host seems to be kind of the easiest. I mean, it's a workaround as long as you're aware of what's going on. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Do you have something to share? Do you want to share your screen to show us what you did, or shall we move on to exercise 2? I don't know what's the best use here for.
No, you should move on. I don't have anything to share on the screen just yet. I'm just more trying to duplicate it slightly differently than what you're doing.
Perfect. I'm not actually sure I'm so excited about this. I mean, this does sound very interesting and fun, but somehow this doesn't seem like step 2 to me. For me, so here's what I'm thinking. Step 1 is awesome, right? This is exactly what I want to see. This is how anybody who's worked with ROS1 will understand exercise 1 right away. There's a central router. We think of it as ROS core, but it's now called Zenoh router, whatever. A talker and listener point themselves across that. They communicate. Once you kill the router, it still works. All great. For me now, the second step would be, now show me how to do this in a sort of ROS2-ish way, where you don't need a router, right? Where you can, because I think Zenoh supports that, right? Where you work routerless. Does anybody remember? Maybe that's direct node connection.
Yeah, I thought there always needed to be a router somewhere in the network, but you can connect to a router on another machine. That's what I remember.
Well, there's also this setup here, right? Which is, even if not enabled by default in RMW Zenoh H, Zenoh can be configured for discovery over UDP multicast in several aspects. For the routers to discover each other, to automatically interconnect with each other. For the ROS nodes to discover each other and to automatically interconnect with each other. This allows a routerless deployment. Yeah, no, so routerless deployment, that's pretty much what it is. Let me try this. I'm more excited about this one just because I feel like if I master this, then I'm at complete feature parity with ROS2 from a routing point of view, right? Because then I've done the ROS1 setup with a central core, and then also done the routerless version. Mike, quick comment for you. Your keyboard is very loud.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's probably because you have this nice setup with a microphone directly above.
Well, normally I have a noise gate, so on the recording it'll be cut out, but I guess
Oh,
Google
cool.
doesn't have that built in. So I'll just mute if I'm not talking.
It doesn't bother me. I was mostly wondering about the recording, but if you think it's going to be filtered out in the recording, that's sweet. Then don't worry about it. Okay, so edit your Zenoh.conf router config JSON file again too. Well, so here's my problem. It says edit it again. This presumes that I've done it before, but I'm an impatient person and I didn't go through the steps in order.
Right.
So now I would have to see where that even is. Okay, here apparently I created it earlier. I didn't do it because I skipped it. Zenoh.conf. Okay, let me first see where I can find it.
And Christian, after we get this part working, we can try multiple machines. That's another one that's really useful, right? You have a robot and a developer machine.
Yeah, that's exercise 2, correct?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think this setup to contain. Oh, you actually mean two machines, not
two separate devices. So I just tried it really quickly, doing the same thing, and the second machine, my Turtlebot, says it can't talk to the Zenoh router. So somewhere in there, we need to figure out what step we skipped. Obviously, we're not reading carefully, so we're jumping around.
Did you do this?
No, this is just trying to repeat step 1. But
yeah. So my problem right now is that I am trying to be quick for the purpose of the audience, but I don't see copy the file Zenoh.conf where from where. Maybe it's part of the repo. Yes. Then the next question is, where does that live on the row in the container? And does it live there at all? Maybe an opt. Nope. Maybe in ROS workspace.
Is there Zenoh confs in the root?
I didn't see any Zenoh in the root.
No, you're right.
I guess we can look at the Docker file to see where that actually copies it. Normally there's a copy or an add step. Okay, from build, no. Doesn't copy very much at all. All right, so that's okay. It's a little annoying, but that's okay. I'll just somehow do it manually, I guess. It does mean that I now need to. Oh, but wait, I can just be lazy and do a copy and paste here. So we're talking about the router config, right? Okay, I'll just do this. Okay, that worked. And now back to our exercises. Exercise 2. No, exercise. I wanted to do the UDP discovery. Okay, so we're going to edit the router config, Zenoh hconf. I'm a little confused by this folder. How is it going to find that?
Yeah, this is what I'm not understanding either.
It must be, okay, here. Okay, and this also implies where it actually needs to go. All right, I think I found it. So they wanted, I mean, at least the instructions wanted in this folder. So I'm just going to copy it here. And call it router config JSON 5. Okay, and we're supposed to edit this to do connect endpoints, nothing, remove all endpoints. There are no endpoints. And then configure scouting multicast setting as such. Okay, so the nice thing here is that the default config already has all of the documentation in the config itself, which is very nice. Addresses, interface, auto connect router, router, peer. Okay, this is confusing. Because you would think that, no, this doesn't make sense. Router, auto connect to me would mean that routers connect to routers automatically. And then auto connect peer, having some options, peer and router, to me means peers will discover themselves or they will connect to a router. Let's see what they say here. Which type of Zenoh instances to automatically establish sessions with upon discovery on UDP multicast? Accepts a single value or different values for router, peer, and client. Each value is bit or like combinations of peer, router, and client. Okay, that's fine, but this doesn't make any sense to me. But let's just try it, because with the config that I have here, no, wait, sorry, this doesn't make sense. So here, okay, so just recapping, we are in discovery via UDP multicast. He's talking, it says that this allows a routerless deployment. But then when we run it, we still start Zenoh HD, which seems to be a router.
It can be for routerless deployment, but not necessarily. And this exercise is doing it with routers. But if you scroll down and expand solution 1, that looks like it's 2 nodes talking directly to each other. So maybe take that session config URI command. Yeah, follow those instead, basically.
That makes sense. Thank you. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so I'm gonna go back here, copy and paste the conf. Okay, so I guess that makes sense. One is a session conf and the other one is a router conf. And why would you need a router conf when you're running in a routerless deployment? So that makes sense to me. And then we're going to rename this to session config, which I guess is not even required because we're going to set it anyways as a parameter. And then here we're going to do multicast enabled. Aha. Thank you. That seems plausible. Okay. And now we are going to run this twice. Well, this one once and then the other one. Yeah, let me cancel the router, cancel the... I'm going to cancel everything first. Go back here and now I'm going to run this. Hello from, say, talker. Invalid configuration file. Error configuration session at ROS blah. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell me what's wrong with the file. It just gives me instead the line in the code where it's parsing it and it's encountering the error. So that's a bit of a problem because the only thing that I changed here was I changed the false to true and I put a comma there. So I don't think I messed this up. Let's so let's just be diligent here and double check that the paths are correct.
So I've just
the file name is different. Why? Oh, because Zenoconfs. I see. Yeah. I put it in the wrong folder. The instructions are correct. I put it in the wrong folder. That's all.
I've just I've done exercise 1 with the manually built Docker container. Can confirm it works, but I'm also getting a more verbose error, more verbose log. It's doing I heard hello world number and then operator brackets. So I'll just show you quick so you can see it.
Sounds good.
Oops, I clicked cancel when I meant to click confirm. Shit. That's fine. Yeah, so I just did a build as it says, and then run the router, publishing hello world, and it's got these extra operator marks that I don't think were in the other one. So I think if you build it manually from Docker, it has more information printed for whatever reason. Or it's because I'm doing it in WSL, but I don't know why that would affect it. Okay, back to you.
Thank you. Okay, so I moved the files to the probably correct folder. It was just my bad. Now I'm going to run this. Well, first I'm going to confirm it. Yeah, that works. And then I'm going to run this again. Unable to connect to Zenoh router, but you're not supposed to connect to a Zenoh router. Oh, and now I can't Control C this again. Control Z works. Okay, that's frustrating. And just set enable to true as such. By default, the node will wait to discover a Zenoh router at startup. To make the node skip this Zenoh router check, define this environment variable for each of your nodes. Aha. So that seems to be missing in the instructions, right? Because really these instructions here should already include this. But let me try with that. Probably all I need to do. Okay, now it's not complaining. Now let's go to the next one. And here I'm going to do this first and then the other one. No. Why not? Does not appear to be published yet. Well, how do you know? Because it doesn't look like you did any sort of discovery here. I don't think I skipped any steps. I mean, I skipped a lot of steps, but not, at least not in this tutorial, in this exercise.
I'm just going to take over.
Please, I'm pretty stuck here.
I too have been getting stuck somewhere, so.
Okay, so we have our Zenoh comp, which I have a folder there, although you didn't have one. So I guess that's because I built from source. So maybe there's a difference in behavior because of that. Inside my session, I changed it to empty endpoints. And then where's multicast? The instructions don't say to do this, so I don't know if it affected anything, but I stripped out where it said router pipe. And I enabled it. Then got the session config URI, the router's not running. Topic pub, hello from Mike. And chatter. And we get a warning that it can't connect to a router, but then we get routerless communication.
Then it must be somewhere in the, assuming that it builds roughly the same as what they have in the container, it must be somehow related to the config. But great, so you got that working. Nice.
So your setup was exactly the same, was it?
Well, except that we didn't diligently compare the... can you show me your config file again? So did you have to, and you had to remove that router from the peer? Probably, right? That's one difference that I can see here.
Yeah, let me try putting it back in.
Yeah, and I'll do the opposite.
That still works for me. Which makes sense because that means router or peer, and if it's a peer, then it accepts it.
Yeah, and for me it still doesn't. It still just says header does not appear to be published yet.
Can you take over again? And yeah, we'll take a look at your config and see if there's anything.
Yeah, 1 second here.
It's sounding like a difference from building from the container at the moment, because I had that config folder when you didn't, so I guess there is some change in something. But
let me show you the session config that I've set, and maybe you can.
Your endpoints has an entry.
Thank you.
You want it on the connect, I think. Let me check that before I tell you. Yeah,
yeah.
You still want it to listen though.
And you still want it to listen. Okay, let me undo this and then just remove the connect. Missing Control C is a little annoying. Okay, talker's talking. Nope.
Interesting.
Let's double check that I'm editing the right file. It's the one that I'm providing as config, and yep, that's where we removed the endpoints. So that's still not working. But I'm wondering, because I'm always suspicious when Control C doesn't quite work, whether there's still some... Yeah, why is there a demonized Zenoh thingy running? Could you check that that is running in your container too, like when you do this command?
Let's have a look. There's nothing. I did the whole list and started to grep for Zenoh, but no.
I'm just going to kill that. Oh, and it doesn't want to be killed. That's also very... no, it's gone. Okay. Well, let me try again with that killed, because maybe that confused things. And you didn't need this check attempts -1 either, right?
No, I didn't.
I'm going to... Okay, then I'm going to try without that, just so I'm replicating what you did. No, then I just get that.
Did you still have the talker or the listener active?
No, this is, this is all that's running. Okay, let me try with the -1. I mean, after all, they did say that you may need that. Well, this is what we had before, but now the question is whether the listener can. Nope.
No.
Okay, but that's different now because previously it said that nothing was published, which could be because it's possible that it was just confused by that zombie process. So let me now do this. Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Okay. So I guess to recap, what was the issue? Well, there was a zombie router. My config may have been wrong because I still have endpoints. And then on both the talker and the listener, I had to use the -1 for the Zenoh session for the Zenoh router check attempts. Well, that wasn't too bad. So now I guess we are at a point where UDP MDNS discovery or multicast discovery works. So I feel like now in 45 minutes I've replicated using Zenoh in sort of a ROS1 mode or a ROS2 mode, which is, I feel like now I feel like I know how to use that tool if I really want to, which I actually do. I mean, not that I have a practical use case right now, but that's because of the nature of what I work on. Yeah, this is cool. Phil, how's it going with your TurtleBot?
Well, I'm still working on just getting the default containers to talk. I was kind of listening to you, and I think I have some session config file problems there. But I was trying to run exercise 2, the container A, container B, but on different networks. So I was trying to figure it out that while also listening to you. I'm a little further behind.
How is it going? How's the progress?
Well, I copied that config file onto one of the devices, but not the other, and then they don't talk. So I'm sure I put something in the wrong spot. I'm trying to be quick of where to put that TCP/IP value. Yeah, so I'm now going back over where it was asking me to do that.
Are the 2 containers that you started running with like the normal network setup or with a host setup?
Host equal network. So they were working with the separate containers all in one machine. I had working when I said host equals network. The container on a second machine isn't working at all yet, and trying to do the config piece and figure out where to put it. And I'm sure it's something very simple. But yeah.
John just joined. Hello, John.
Hi there.
Hey guys, I just had a conflict, so I just joined late as soon as I get off the other call.
No problem. I don't remember. Have you been here before?
It's been a little bit, but yeah, I joined one other call before, so
Cool.
I'm with Red Hat, helping on a few things here, but I'm just trying to play catch up to what's going on here. So.
Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, you mentioned Red Hat before. Yeah, just to catch you up, we're going through the Zenoh exercises. We had Julian Enoch speak a few sessions ago, and it was very interesting for us. And Mike had suggested that we do kind of a hands-on exercise, and we've been going through some of the workshop exercises that they had provided. All the 3 of us, Michael, Phil, and I, trying different things, and we've had successes. So far, maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I'm pleased with what I've seen so far.
We haven't been able to break it, sadly.
Well, we got all sorts of breakages, but we were able to overcome all of them so far. And a lot of them were self-made, of course.
Do you want to try and follow exercise 3? I've just I'm chattering through the cloud. I don't know if you want to set up the same on yours, Christian, and we'll see if we can chat to each other.
Ooh, I like that.
That seems crazy. How would that even work?
Well, they're hosting a cloud instance for us, so we both run a router that connects to their cloud instance, which allows the traffic to network.
Okay.
I'm actually surprised the instance is up, but it seems to be working. So
could you share your screen? I kind of want to explore that a little bit, because when something is publicly hosted in the cloud, my first question is, how big of a security hole? I mean, can I drive a bus through that hole? That seems like huge. And I guess my question is, what happens when you now do a ROS2 node list? Can you see all of the nodes from everybody who's also currently playing with that thing, or how does that?
okay,
Or
so
is there any sort of isolation where we specify a room or some sort of password or something like that?
Looking at the communication, or sorry, the demo script, Christian, I'm going to say this one is pretty big hole.
Okay.
You can see everybody that's connected to that.
Which is fine for a demo. I was just curious.
Yeah.
it's a pretty good demo. So the only thing you need to do is copy the default router config and add this line that I'm sat on at the moment.
And this is the session or the router config?
This is the router.
The router config. Okay, let me try
Sounds
that.
so weird to me saying router.
Oh, sorry, you went away. What did? Oh, I guess I can get it from the. Okay.
Yeah, allow me.
Endpoint. Yep. Yeah. Got it. Okay, and then you started using that parameter. Oh, so I see. So that starts still a local router, which then I guess connects to the cloud router.
Mhm.
Started Zenoh router with OD. Okay. And now, what did you want me to do? I have that running. Should I do the chatter and you talk to me, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, I'm publishing. So if you go ahead and run the listener, we'll see if you get any messages from me.
Hello from Mike.
Hey,
Whoa.
Hello.
what a
Well, that's
revolution. We've managed to send each other messages across the internet.
Feels like 1969. Can you change your message? I want to see how that behaves. Yeah, okay, I saw that you. Well, I'm going to share my screen here so our viewers can. Will that steal from you, or will that go side by side? Go side by side, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Mike likes robots. Oh,
There you
this is
go.
nice. Okay. Now comes the part where we should do all sorts of. Okay, now I'm curious, because now I want to see everything that's being published.
All right, let's fight over who controls Phil's turtle bot now.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Right now, I'm definitely putting my Turtlebot in the wrong domain. I'm trying to get that stuff UR, but I'm filling out the file in the wrong spot.
Wow, we are 5 minutes from the end, but I think that alone, we've got ROS1, we've got ROS2, and we've got messages going across through a cloud instance. Those are all the promises that Zenoh made.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I now I'm reading the endpoint. It's called ROSCon.zenoh.io. So this is, I think he mentioned that. I believe that's even their business model, right? I mean, they need to have a business model too, which is hosted routers, I'm assuming. And this must just be some sort of free demo one that they set up for ROSCon. And the reason why ROS2 node list is empty is because, except for us, nobody's playing with it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas at ROSCon, I'm sure it was pretty crowded. Oh, this sounds fun. I mean, I'm just imagining what it must have been like if you were at ROSCon and you were going through that. There was all sorts of chatter, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's a stress test right there.
Well, I was not thinking of the stress test. I was thinking of how much, having a room of 900 roboticists all hacking away at the same middleware. I'm sure all sorts of ideas bloomed up there, and Oh, this is very cool. Okay, so and now I guess if I'm whatever Superbots 2000, and I want to have my robots talk to each other, then I guess I would go to Zenoh.io, create whatever an account, and I would probably be able to get a hosted domain there, and then. Well, then the next question is, how do I secure it? These endpoints, there must be some sort of, and I think he said they have all sorts of certificate-based
Exercise 6, access control.
You're way ahead of me.
I
Okay.
just clicked it because I thought that's probably the next logical step, isn't it?
It is. Cool. Well, like you said, the hour's almost up, but this was so productive.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. We'll have the recording. Anyone can try it for themselves, and you can imagine that not only could you use their instance, but you can run your own instance and just run Docker and expose the right ports, and you've got Zenoh, global ROS2 communication.
Yeah. I'll mess around with it some more, figure out what I'm doing wrong, and maybe next. Oh no, we have a speaker next time, right? So
we do. We have a speaker booked. I can't remember. There were two, I think, and I've forgotten which is speaking next time, which I need to put on the meetings list. So I will announce it once I've looked up the right name, and let you all know. So yeah.
Meanwhile, I'll summarize my impression, which is now my biggest question is, how soon can this be the default middleware for ROS2, please?
I'm trying to read and catch up here. Is this a DDS compliant thing?
It
or
is not DDS, but it's an alternative RMW, I mean ROS middleware or ROS2 middleware. So it's a replacement for DDS.
Okay. All right. Okay. I've read about this project, but it was over a year ago, so it's slept since then. So
they recently announced their 1.0, which I think coincided more or less with ROSCon as well. So they presented there, and I think this workshop was it's aptly called ROSCon 2024 workshop. So it's a lot of these things are pretty recent.
yeah, I think they were waiting for 1.0 to make the default. So that means whatever KTurtle, it'll be the default, or that's the expectation. I think that's what I heard.
Turtle comes out, is it in May of next year?
I think so.
That'll be great. I just posted the link to the talk recording if you want to watch that. I'm sure they've got a whole bunch of other resources to explain it as well.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'll play catch up again.
Great. Well, I think we are 1 minute from the end. That was good fun. I'd be happy to do it again with another technology. I've got a bunch of notes that I will summarize and probably just send directly to Julian. So feel free to ping me any notes that you want to add on or send them separately, whatever you prefer. And see you in a couple of weeks for our talk.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Good. Thanks again for the suggestion, everyone. Mike. Worked out really well.
Oh, I think it was actually Phil's suggestion. I did want to mention that.
Oh,
I just jumped on it.
Yeah. Thank you, Phil. Yeah. Great idea.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye now.